I'm Isyander.
And I'm Koda.
And today we are covering the underdogs of 40k.
The underdogs of 40k.
And our polls. My god, they've been holding it down in that losers bracket, but they're out.
It's
the Tau. And I genuinely had a blast reading this one. So I'm gonna do a good job being the state-sponsored hype man for these guys.
I just love them.
Oh, they're so much fun.
Big mechs.
Oh my god, they're so
big
much fun.
robots.
They are to get you up to speed. They are like honestly the underdogs of 40k, you know? Like they are the ones who have nobody has a chance of winning 40k. Let's be honest here. Nobody does, save for Chaos, but that's like saying Chaos Gravity has a chance of winning every war.
Yeah,
right? But the Tau are the farthest away from it. They are not incompetent per se. They're just really new.
They're just so out of their league.
Yeah, and they also have the disadvantage of everyone else has some connection to the warp a little bit. They have none whatsoever. So they can't cast spells.
Maybe a tiny spark?
No, nothing.
Nothing?
No,
really?
Nada. They are so dull, the warp doesn't even recognize them. And they are also so like... Because here's the thing about them. One of the most consistent through lines in Tau plot lines is them encountering something and going, that's not... that. How are you that large? That makes no sense.
That shouldn't happen.
There's when Tau see Titans for the first time, which are the Imperium's massive mechs, they look at them and go, that's a small country walking out.
That should not reasonably work.
That is a small country's GDP, resources, and definitely all of its oil running towards me kind of fast. Why can they feel that?
Why does it move that quickly?
There's no that is the most wasteful thing I've ever seen. And that is a very consistent thing in Tau stories where they just truly don't understand the depth of what they're dealing with. And so regularly they'll be like, hey, Imperium, come on, submit and join us. To which the Imperium just throws a full crusade at them. And they go, okay, my bad. I'm sorry.
Never mind. I'll just leave you alone. I'll kick myself out.
But the thing I love the most about the Tau is, and this is the one advantage that they have over everybody, is their potential. Because the Tau are... They're not up right now. But there is only one direction the Tau can go. Like if we
they're
look
kind of at the bottom of their arc.
Yeah. If everyone is a rocket, let's say, everyone's in different stages of leaving the atmosphere. Some are just kind of getting up there. Some have fully left and are landing back really, really, really hard. Eldar, I'm looking at you. And the Tau are still on the launch pad. They haven't taken off yet. It's kind of messy. They're still doing the countdown, but it's taking a while, and they're doing all their checks. There's not much they can do right now, but you look at the way all of it's heading, there's only one direction it can go.
And it's probably up.
Everyone else has had their golden age. That's a fact. Everyone in 40k, save for the Tyranids, but this is a Tau video, so we'll just chase those bugs away for now.
Also, the Tyranids are like bugs, so could they even have a golden age? Their golden age would just be like everybody is easily consumable now.
Orcs are fungus, and they have a golden age. There was a time period where they were wearing armor. like actually competent power armor.
Well, to be fair, they were also like a different species then.
I don't know. Ish, kind of. It's not an orc video either. Moral of the story is everyone has had their like golden age to speak of. Mm-hmm. Humanity had that one time period where they had AI doing everything. The Eldar had that one time period where they actually won. Like death became something they would laugh at. The orcs at one point could do trig, which... If you know the orcs, trig is a lot for them, man. You know, and the Necrons are like the poster boys of having a goal. I would actually honestly argue they're not.
Imagine if the
they're
orcs
not too bad right now.
Imagine if the orcs could do FEA on their constructions.
Oh God, don't listen. Everyone else has had their moment to shine, and there's always been this one point in the story in the full timeline, right? There's always been one point where any one faction could have won if they didn't trip and fall 5 minutes afterwards. Like at any given point, you look back far enough and it's like, ooh, the Necrons almost had that, and then that didn't happen. And then the Eldar almost had that, and then that didn't happen. You know, this just keeps on. Honestly, I think we're there right now for the Tyranids. Mm-hmm. No? Because they're like coming from everywhere.
They're due for a trip and fall.
And they're like, I mean, I can't think of any one faction that could kill the Tyranids. Like, if we line up every Tyranid in existence and every unit of maybe the orcs. Maybe the orcs. That'd be.
We
like
did that once.
Yeah, we did that once. Anyway,
And the orcs
like I said, it's not
lost.
it's not a Tyranid episode, but maybe
Is it really a loss if you love what you do?
they love their jobs. They clock in every day with a smile. So maybe save for like the Tyranids who are maybe it could be debated that they're there right now. Maybe the Tau haven't had. There's no point in Tau history where they were. I can't think of a single point where the galaxy was aware of the Tau and went, they might win. I mean, one of something that's pointed out is there's a Tau commander who finds a wrecked Space Marine dreadnought, which is where, they inter their like old and wounded veterans who could still serve because only in death does duty end.
You're nothing but a head and a torso in there.
They're cool. They're so cool. The center of them is a sarcophagus for the like effectively corpse. Because I'll be real, you remove the guy from the Terminator, his odds of survival are low. It's life support machine
0.
Yeah, it's a life support machine with guns attached to it because 40k. They're so cool. Some of my favorite characters are Terminators, but
to be fair, so incredibly cool. I want my casket to have guns attached to
only in death does duty end. They don't just say it, they live it. I love them so much.
Actually, please strap Pratt & Whitney J58 engines to my casket. That's what I want.
Sure, why not? But the Tau who finds this Terminator, this absolutely wrecked Terminator, has this moment of sheer terror when they realize that dead Marine is older than all of Tau history. That's how new they are to the block. You can find Marines who've outlived Tau history, and they just had this moment of, How? Who do I tell? Like, nobody's going to believe me. Nobody's going to believe me. I'll have to drag this thing back. It's this moment of sheer terror upon realizing just how insignificant you are on a cosmic scale. And I love the Tau for that because, typically in fiction, it's us. It's us humans who have that feeling of we are incomprehensibly small against the might of the cosmos. Mm-hmm. But the Tau give us a really fun perspective on what it would feel like to witness humanity on the other end of it going, oh, we are infinitely small compared to them. That's just scary, man. They can do things we can't even... the Tau can fathom most of the mechanics.
It's so old.
It's so old. But yes, that is how absolutely new they are to the... They're the new kids on the block. And when you look at it like that, they're kind of hosed. They're kind of hosed. There's not much to like about them because it's like they can't stand up to anyone. They're very new. They can't do very much. And you look at the scale of almost every other faction, and they're really insignificant until you factor in their potential. Because they've only been around for like 5,000 years, right? In that 5,000 years, the Imperium's been to I think 32 crusades. Either receiving...
Just 32?
These are proper crusades.
The big ones.
These are not just 10 Space Marines went off and called it a crusade. No. Mm-hmm. And also there's Space Marines who just orbit on the outside of the galaxy just on an eternal crusade. So that's me vastly underestimating.
But that's what I mean. It's just it runs like a literal clock around the outside of the galaxy. It's happening at all times. Yeah, there's just 32.
I'm vastly underrating how many crusades they're in, but that's a lot to happen in 5,000 years. In that time period, the Tau went from fire hot, to rail guns. Deep that. 5,000 years, and they went from rubbing sticks on stones and making fire to genuine, not half functional, fully functional railguns. Like the most infuriating kind too of what's that on the horizon? Dead. In just 5,000 years.
I mean,
and since we met them, it's been about a couple. No, I think 1,000. Two.
So who knows what they could have been up to? It's very weird that they're the most human of the bunch, right? Seeing as how we in our current real life timeline have kind of done the same thing. Like 5,000 years ago, we didn't have F-22s.
True, but we still don't have railguns. The Tau can travel faster than light. Hold up. The Tau,
We have railguns-ish.
in that time, have learned how to travel faster than light. Meanwhile, the Imperium has the Navy begging on the floor for new ships, the Mechanicus praying over your 1992 Honda Civic, and the Church ate the post office and spat it back out and then ate it again in that time period. That's all they've accomplished the entire time. The most the Imperium has accomplished in the last 5,000 years is waking up the Lord of Bureaucracy, to which even he looked at this and went,
Oh, God, why am I here?
just end me. Why'd you thaw me out? You shouldn't have bought. What do you want me to do about this? What do you want me to do about this? I can't do a thing. So that's the thing that the Tau have that I like the most. Because with each time we move forward, because that's the thing about 40K.
Time is always moving forward.
Time is moving forward.
It is a living world.
You got to always consider, what are the Tau up to? What are those engineers cooking? What kind of math are they doing back there? Because this is very, very scary stuff. And
I feel like Warhammer 40K should have like a Phineas and Ferb style cutaway bit. Like, hey, where are the Tau?
that's what they feel like, and that's what we're going to be covering.
And the Tau just like pounding away at mechs with doobie doobie doo ba doobie doo going in the background.
That's exactly what it feels like. And that's genuinely what you're going to see when we talk about some of the weapons they field with the crisis suits, which are so cool. They're basically their Iron Man suits. I'm just going to save you some
With
time.
varying size, too, I assume.
Mm-hmm, varying size. But the thing I like about them is you can see them. You can see this happen with Space Marine armor, too, where you have like the Heresy to today. And wow, they've made some improvements.
Yeah.
But that took 10,000 years. This happened in a lot less time, and they fixed, frankly, more complicated problems than even the Space Marines have. I might get in trouble for that one.
Okay, well,
we'll
the Tau just kind of allow themselves to have more to solve. Like the Imperium has outlawed AI, so I assume if they want a targeting solution on any of their guns, they have a servitor to do that math for them. But the Tau would just put a computer in there.
The Tau, the Imperium does have computers, right? And the Tau don't have like full singularity level AI.
I figured no.
But they have really advanced targeting systems, and they don't try and pretend that it's anything other than a targeting system. This is in stark contrast to the servitor episode last week. It's a targeting system. It calculates the drop of it.
And it doesn't scream.
And it doesn't scream or hook weird lefts, and you just go, oh no, it just knows that. The missile just knows where traitors are by knowing where they aren't.
The missile knows where it is at all times. It knows this because it knows where it isn't and where it has been.
Yes. But before we get into the full breadth of all these battle suits, and I think you are going to love them, by the way. I'm not going to lie.
You think?
I think this might push the Tau higher on your tier list when you learn about them.
You think?
I almost know. But before we get into that, we got to talk about some other underdogs. Yeah, boys. No, but seriously, in the grand scale of media in general, we are kind of just nothing,
I can't wait to be mentioned by John Oliver.
Yeah, no, that's not happening.
Oh.
I really doubt that. But
maybe oh God, any late show person.
But the way we keep the lights on is with your help. By
the one with the big chin and the cars.
That's
Jay Leno.
I have to let that slide. I can't let this derail any further. Anyway, the way we do that is by giving you guys more of what you love. And we do that by you heading on over to patreon.com/Isyander and Koda, where you can get a bonus episode every single week, live streams, and I think there'll be a couple in November, so keep an eye out for that, as well as a bunch of other perks, all while helping us keep all the lights on and get more lights.
Yes, more lights.
So if you already like this, please head on over to patreon.com/Isyander and Koda so you can get more of what you already love. On top of that, you help us keep all these lights on and keep producing this show. For those of you already there, thank you very much. And for those of you going as I speak, thank you as well. Now, let's get into that time the Tau had to discover what lead shielding does.
Keep you safe from radiation?
Well, the first battle suits they had, you don't just... Look, in 40K, you can't win unless you have a slightly taller dude on the battlefield.
It's just how it works.
You need some form of super soldier or a way to kill super soldiers. You're not making it very far without one of those two things. Ideally, you want to have both.
You need a tallest guy, at least.
Yeah, and the Tau's solution to this is, well, we already have kind of taller guys, but let's put them in mechs. And so the crisis suits stand at about twice the height of a regular Tau, and they're really customizable. It almost depends on it straight up does depend on the user, because they're not also handed out willy-nilly. These are usually fairly important people within them. And so they're kind of customized to the user's use case.
These are people who would know how to modify their mechs if need be and would just do whatever they need to.
No. That's what the Earth Department's for.
Oh.
I'm
Never mind.
I am fire. I just run at them.
Ah.
I want a bigger sword. Figure it out.
If I want a specific way to run at them, I ask somebody else for that.
Yeah, all of them are made of this alloy that is about the same as the stuff Space Marine armor is made of, but far lighter than anything any Space Marine has ever wielded, which is part of why, that one piece of art everyone loves of the Tau Space Marine?
Oh God, that Space Marine would be insane.
Horrifying. Because that is a Space Marine with all the strength of a Space Marine, by the way.
Training weights have been taken off.
Yes.
They'd go full Goku.
Yep. And that armor would still be just
including
as effective.
Screaming.
And they could have any weapon they want mounted to it. It would be the scare if the Tau, they won't, but if they ever got a chapter to defect,
that would be a problem. That would be a problem with a capital P.
That would be the kind of thing that makes the Imperium go, we need a crusade in that direction. Right now. That's not allowed. That's not kosher. How is that fair? On top of being stronger material-wise, the armor is also designed with attack angles in mind. So it'll deflect bullets too. It's not just going to take the brunt of the force really well. It's going to try and distribute it in a way that won't kill you, because that's the whole point of armor, right? Don't die.
God, they do material science.
It is the way it's piloted is really funny, because they climb in and then they're like, it's not, the way that the cool way you pilot a mech, like Fallout style, where you open up the armor and you step in and it's fully encasing you.
I always loved Titanfall 1's first person boarding animations.
It's not as cool.
Oh,
they walk in and curl up in the fetal position. Yeah.
So this is like this is like a symbiotic Titan level, but instead of A posing while floating around the weird robot thing, they just fetal position.
Yes, exactly.
And then the brain controls.
Yeah, and they control the suit like it's them. If the suit gets injured, they feel injured, which is a good way to know things.
Evangelion time.
Oh yes. There's this very specific kind of trauma that can be inflicted on pilots, where I didn't lose my arm, but I certainly felt myself lose it, and that causes a lot of damage. If a mech loses its head, that's been known to just render a pilot almost useless.
Yeah, that'd do it.
Yeah, it's a lot of sympathetic.
Funny that exact scenario happens in the Evangelion movie.
Yep,
kind of, not exact, but exact-ish.
But you do need pain to figure out what's going on.
What's going on with the mech?
Yeah, exactly. It is a form of feedback. It's just maybe let's tune it down a bit.
Yeah,
maybe let's have a maximum value here,
like a limiter there. So if your mech does get decapitated, you're not useless.
Exactly. They are all designed to be as interchangeable as possible. So not only will they be customized to the user's wants, if you're going against the orcs, we'll remove all your melee weapons. Fight them from 5,000 miles away. We know this. It works.
They hate that.
Yeah, we can tweak it and it'll work like that. And it's treated as this. In their language, it translates to like the mantle that the hero wears.
That's kind of cool.
Which is so cool. If there's the closest thing, I think in other media to describe them would be, the way in every good Iron Man iteration, he lives long enough for you to see him tweak and throw around a bunch of suits. And so he effectively has like a small junkyard of quasi-useful suits here and there. Like, like that one's a stealth suit. What does it do? Turn invisible. Can it take a bullet? No. The crisis suits kind of feel like that, except mass-produced. And you've armed an army with them. So they're that terrifying.
They're a lot more deadly than just one guy with these things in his basement.
Yes. They're also shockingly fast because, they're super duper light, and
they have rockets all over them. They're armored cores.
Yeah, except somehow scarier, because imagine being able to move twice as fast and all that aiming's happening on your behalf.
Yeah, that's frightening.
You know, like it's very much
if
so
you
like
play Armored Core right,
they could blitz through.
basically do that.
They blitz through and it's just heads all around them without any real thought against them. They can fly around in the sky. You could swap out the jetpack for propellers in the back and have them work underwater. They usually work in teams. It's so much fun. And there's frankly not enough art of them. I'm gonna be honest.
Not enough?
No.
That's a shame.
Like all things Tau, there's just not enough of them sometimes.
Yeah.
These suits have been kind of the backbone of their expansion for a while now. The first variants were just gas powered mechs, pretty much.
Oh, so full iron harvest.
Yeah, they were powered by fossil fuels. They were super duper slow, super duper heavy, and it's you hit the nail on the head. They're iron harvest mechs. They're the kind that like slowly lumber forward,
Shaking the whole way.
Yeah, they rattle a lot. They creak a lot. They look very Imperium, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
But the Tau, like they do, innovate. And so version 2 came out, and we fully removed all fuels and instead replaced them with tiny reactors.
Whoa.
Mm-hmm. Way less weight. No need to carry around jerry cans anymore.
They didn't put lead shielding in it.
Radiation takes a while to figure out. So the first couple pilots, they learned some hard lessons.
Demon Core.
But the problem is they were still functional enough. You know, so for about 1,000 years
they were still using them, but with the caveat of you've signed up for this, you're gonna get like, you're basically going to be a lab rat.
Yeah, and it's only after that they really retooled them and gave us the ones we have today, which bother to shield their pilots from any radiation poisoning.
Good,
Very
good.
They have other problems, like I said. That whole sympathetic pain thing is not great.
Yeah, maybe tune that down a little bit.
And they probably will, frankly, because it's the Tau. But for now, you now have very light, very adaptable suits that don't give the user radiation poisoning.
Just don't get hit, forehead.
Yeah, that's kind of the one thing about them. They're kind of, well, we will get to that later, but Tau inconsistency is something that bothers me. Because sometimes these suits, we'll get to that later.
Okay.
For now, though, most of the R&D time is spent just modifying and upgrading the suit ever so slightly, adding new weapons here, adding new weapons there. It's kind of the opposite of the Imperium, where they're like, don't fix it. Don't touch it. Don't touch it. Don't touch it.
It works how it is. We just need to rub oil on it once a quarter and pray weekly.
Exactly.
What's the one story of that, like, walker that the Mechanicus had working for a while until it stopped, and they couldn't get it working until randomly it just like fired back up again?
No, the guy who knew how to make these walkers died, and he obviously didn't leave any notes, so they're terrified of turning them off because they're worried they won't know how to turn them back on. So they just keep these things running around in like a tiny ranch, and they just lasso it whenever they need it. If that doesn't show the difference between these two, I don't know what will.
The Mechanicus have...
They're so funny. They're so... They're so funny.
Robot ranchers?
Yeah. That somebody's... I imagine there's a Magos out there with like a... Magos? I
think it's Magos.
Yeah. I imagine there's a Magos out there with like a little cowboy hat, and like he's just gotten very good at lassoing these things at this point.
Arch Rancher.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the one. They're so... I love the Mechanicus sometimes. It's such a good parallel with these guys.
Silvius, have you milked the walkers yet?
No, they're just doing laps. There's nothing useful happening there. It's just clink, 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 because they're running around constantly. And it's like, well, we need some walkers. All right, gotcha. You're good.
I assume this metal tentacle rope thing is attached to him somewhere.
Oh, there's probably like a lasso arm he built in, that way he doesn't have to think about it too much.
It happens automatically.
Yeah. Which the Tau just don't play those games, frankly.
They just know they made a user manual.
No, that can't be right. That's insane. The way they choose who, because it's not just anyone who gets to put on the mantle of the hero, you know. You gotta kind of be somebody. You have to be trained up through the Firecast. You have to have at least a couple of years in service. You can't just waltz in and pick up an Iron Man suit.
We don't just hand SEAL Team 6 certifications to anybody.
Do you think it's certification? I don't think it's a certification. I don't think.
Well, I'm sure you have to do certifications.
I don't think they get a certificate and an awkward handshake. I think it's got to be cooler than that, man. I think.
Okay, you don't get the keys of a B-2 Spirit bomber thrown at you.
Minimum, there's a couple of jets flying overhead.
Yeah.
Minimum.
Yeah, at least.
Like, come on, pomp and circumstance.
I did see the coolest Ranger graduation ever. Because I guess it's a whole thing. There, it looks like there is a
Army Ranger. Yeah, I'd hope so.
There is a whole like obstacle course that is like your graduation thing, and I saw somebody.
You graduate through a challenge. That's so okay. Go on. That's so accurate.
Go across like a single rope to go grab a tag, and then as he is dropping off into the water, he hits a full post-up salute.
Ah, Jesus, that's so cool. That's so cool.
It was a very cool clip.
All right, I got whoever that is. They gotta get credit for that. But not just anyone can pilot these suits. You gotta go through training. You gotta go through, because it's Tau. They actually have really fun training scenes that involve a lot of VR. Like it's so much fun. There's VR. There's drones. Like they really do feel like they're in the future.
With the next innovations in VR, the Ethereal Quest 3.
Yeah, and they just put that out there. And
they hand you a copy of Blade and Sorcery and say, go for it.
It's far more horrifying than that. Usually these are like live fire exercises, these trials by fire, which like, come on, Firecast going through, like, these trial by fire are live fire exercises.
It's not symbolic if it's slapping you in the face with the symbolism.
No, it's not anymore. But keynote, once you have made it, you can retire, maybe.
Immediately?
Well, no, but you have a path to retirement.
Ah, okay.
And these are Tau veterans. They have served for a decade. These are some of their longest lived and most skilled warriors with 12 years of service under their belt. Yeah. I love the Tau, but I love the scale they present relative to the Imperium.
You know what's funny is that's like impressive on a human scale.
Precisely.
You served for a decade. That's impressive.
12 years.
You served in 40K for a decade? Oh, dude, you don't even have a stud.
Yeah, there are Marines out there running around with multiple. Titus has 4 studs. That's like
He's been around 200 years.
It's like 200 years of service. He has served almost 20 times the amount of time you've served. He probably spent your service time in just training.
He has been around long enough that he fought and probably killed your grandpappy in battle.
It's so fun. The only exception to this really easy way to take the wind out of the Tau sails is Farsight, who's lived for 300 years. And that's pretty impressive.
But he's an exception, and he has
a demon sword.
A weird demon sword.
Yeah, and then there's the cloned one, but we covered that in the Patreon episode, so that's whatever. But yeah, most Tau, they're mightiest warriors. They're the greatest men and women they have to offer.
Who served for a decade.
Decade of service. And it's just... Do you see why I love the purpose they serve within the greater narrative?
There's so
much fun to be had with this in almost every way.
Again, it's so weird because of the bunch, they seem to be the most like human,
right?
Because again, 10 years of service as a person now, impressive.
That's a good chunk of your life.
But in 40K,
you're not even
starting.
A joke. You're not. That's almost like what, like almost 20% of the average male lifespan. If you served for that long,
mm-hmm.
That's a huge chunk of your life.
No, it's a huge chunk of your life. Yeah,
I think that's about 20%. That's some napkin math.
It depends on like.
No, I think the average is.
The average is going up, but it's 70 now.
We die a little quicker. It's unfortunate, but we do. And then you see some of the stuff we get up to, and it's like,
yeah, it tracks.
I have to wonder when it comes to those statistics, is it just a bunch of guys putting up insane numbers? Is it?
Do you think it's like? Do you think we
or is there something that just
comes
for us
a spider's Greg, but for fatalities?
I'd be very curious.
Fatalities, Phil.
I'm sure it's nowhere near as glamorous as this. It's probably just like heart disease. So like, take care of your ticker, boys. But that's.
I'm surprised I didn't get anything for fatalities, Phil.
That is a good one. I'm sorry. That deserved something. Fatality Phil, who just keeps dying at age 15 over and over again. Therefore, he's lowering the average by a wide margin.
But somehow he keeps coming back. He doesn't know what to do about this.
Despite this decade of service that they have under their belt, they're still able to keep up with Marines. So, like,
that's impressive.
Like, think we can mock them all the live long day. These suits
they get
do
results.
Work. Yeah, the training clearly works, and the suits are clearly doing a lot. So it's very neat to see that kind of stuff. They're also not just one-trick ponies. They're not just a very rapid blender that can run through opponents. But typically, there's this feeling of like, oh my god, Iron Man's here. Oh, this is great. You know what I mean? Like like they are truly upheld as heroes. Tau kids have crisis suit posters on their walls. You know? And it doesn't matter which cast you are, you will always have one. Like,
and you'll just...
Yeah, it's just for different reasons. Like, the Earth cast will go, I can't wait to work on one of those, you know? And, like, the Fire cast will be like, I can't wait to be in one of those, you know?
I mean, it's...
Air cast probably has aircraft on there, I'm going to be honest.
It's very funny. We do the same thing.
Yeah. No, the Tau are very, very, very human in a way that's just so fun. It's so much fun. These veterans, on top of having the best schooling that the Tau have to offer and the best gear that the Tau have to offer, have a... It's very much so like, how do I put it? It's very much so like, it's not AI that can think and come to conclusions on its own. None of their stuff is autonomous yet, because this is the Tau. Give them like 2,000 years.
And they may just figure that out.
They may just cut the person out of the suit and you just have autonomous crisis suits. But they are very like, they're analytical machines. They read out all the data available on the battlefield. They present it to them. It's kind of the stuff we just have today put into a mech.
They're working on a big R program that's just working.
Like it's all the stuff we have access to today and modern militaries have access to today. But instead of requiring rooms of people, it's all loaded into one suit, which is always the most impressive thing about tech, when you can just compress it down into something that's... rocket. You can strap that thing to a rocket, give it a sword, and it's doing damage, you know?
I mean, my favorite fun fact is the fact that the first microprocessor was built for the F-14 because it needed a computer for its fly-by-wire systems, and we didn't have any computer that was smaller than the room we're currently in now.
Really?
Yeah.
Gee, oh, no, I know that area. Yeah, no, that tracks. That fully tracks. There's also the possibility that the Tau could theoretically develop AI. For those of you that don't know, the Tau don't have elections. Their version of voting is you turn on the TV screen and you see swirling patterns. You know, like they are a society run by mind control, and AI.
I see where this is going.
Could pose a problem there. You know, so there's the possibility that they could theoretically make it,
or maybe they already have. Somebody at GW may just like be hinting at that slowly.
Maybe. That would be a fun development, but right now they don't have any fully autonomous suits.
That we know of.
No, just like, I mean, I'm sure an author tomorrow could come out and say they've had one, and I go, there we go, thank you very much. But
once again,
now,
if they are following the path of us, they probably have their own skunkworks doing something funny.
Probably. For now, though, they are, like, tech-wise, they're definitely below the Necron, slightly below the Votan even.
Slightly, just
because
slightly.
they have AI. They have full bore AI. And that's another interesting thing about the leagues. They're new. They're also on the wrong side of the potential spectrum. Like, they've gone up and now they're on the way down. Only the Tau are on the way up.
Unfortunate for them.
Like, no, there's a lot going on with the leagues. And honestly, I'm really glad they introduced them the way they did. They're super fun, and I want to know more about them. But yeah, I would say they are somewhere in between. No, I'd say they're slightly lower than the leagues when it comes to tech, just because AI is a lot, man. AI is so much.
Yeah.
And the Tau just aren't there yet, but they could be. Just give it a little bit of time. And hopefully that's, something that they're willing to explore, because the biggest problem with the Tau is we just don't get very much of them. They kind of feel like, well, we've been getting more and more, but a lot of it's very Farsight focused.
Yeah.
And so,
I mean, I feel like GW kind of wrote themselves into a corner where they could do something big and bombastic and make them more 40K-ish, because As we talked about in the Patreon video, they seem to clash for pretty fundamental reasons. But I don't know. Farsight just seems to be the only one who's doing things.
Yeah, he's got motion. There's no choice about it.
The general Tau are like doing their own thing.
Off in the corner somewhere. Well, and then they also suffer from the same inconsistency that a lot of things suffer from, wherein like a crisis suit in and of itself can cut. It's like at the best of the best, a crisis suit is effectively a mech samurai that can cut through as many space marines as is needed until it bumps into one with a name. And then it's effectively a wet paper towel.
And see, that's the strongest weapon you can have is a name in 40K.
Having a name in 40K does a lot for you. And that's the main drawback to crisis suits. But beyond that, man, they are very cool looking. They are very functional. They are a fun bit of like Tau engineering you can see. I want to see them advance because GW has stated these guys got here in 5,000 years. You got to stay on the gas. You know, we are in. Hopefully, we're changed millennium soon, but I doubt it. I don't even know where we are in M42 off the top of my dome. I know we're somewhere, but it's not coming to me right now.
Do you think we're close to M43? No.
Too much. No, there's still too much. I say 2 more Primarchs.
M42 and a half?
I say 2 more Primarchs, and then we would see that. But for now, what do you think of them?
You know what I think of the Tau. I like the Tau.
There's one more thing. These things are horrifically useless against Chaos. For very obvious reasons. You have gotten close to Khorne. What do you think's gonna happen? You're not winning that matchup, you know?
It's Chaos.
Yeah, but also the Tau don't really deal with Chaos very often, so their weapons clearly aren't developed to deal with it.
I mean, it's kind of like it's the US and Russia fighter jet situation where both of us in the Cold War only trained our fighters to fight against our own fighters. And so when we eventually like smashed them together like paper airplane toys, they were both like alien to each other. There was no way to
and that's the problem the Tau face.
The strategies just simply didn't work.
Yep. And so while they could very well be the next problem after the Tyranids, that would be a fun twist. But it doesn't look like it right now.
It's just
It is what it is.
It is what it is.
But that does bring an end to this episode on the Tau. We are left with 2 options. The Crimson Fists and Commissars. Make sure you sound off by voting in the comments. And we move. Also, if you're affected by the hurricane, hopefully you're staying safe.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's... I think there's a 3rd one. I don't keep up with hurricanes.
I hadn't heard about hurricanes for like, it seems like the last
it felt like they took a pandemic break.
It feels like they took a pandemic break and then suddenly came out with like 3 in a row. And at this point, I wouldn't be surprised if there are like 3 to 4, just because like I've been hearing like name after name after name. I can't keep track of them all.
Yeah, the news cycle's a mess. But for those of you there, we really hope that you're doing fine and stay safe. As always, thank you for tuning in and thank you for being you.